Nidhi Khare. Students, do you think a leader should be a hero or a negotiator? Out in front leading people or coordinating the work of the group? Destined to be a leader or developed to be a leader? Now, the way we think about leadership affects how we perceive the leaders around us. In the same way, our beliefs about how people become leaders affect how we evaluate people's leadership potential. Believing people are born leaders is likely to result in a focus more on selection, that is, identifying the right people, rather than on development, that is, developing the people you get or you hire. On the other hand, believing that people are made into leaders by their experiences would be more likely to result in a greater focus on making sure people had the right opportunities to develop into leaders. Understanding whether people in your organization think leaders are born or made is critical, because these attitudes play out in recruiting, promotion, and development decisions. Will your organization spend its money on selecting people believed to be born leaders? Or will your organization spend its money on developing people into becoming leaders? Will executives emphasize selection of talent and only invest in those who they believe have leadership potential? Or will they see value in developing talent among a broad group of people? Top leaders set the tone for the development of others within their organization. So understanding their view can inform talent identification and development strategies. So students, in today's lecture, I'm going to discuss about whether leaders are born or made. Are leaders born or made? It's a debate as timeless as the age-old controversy about the chicken and the egg. Do effective leaders learn to become superior communicators and relationship builders? Or do people with exemplary communication and teamwork abilities naturally have an aptitude for leadership? Recently, the Wall Street Journal's online edition, citing the need for and lack of these leadership qualities in business, asked its readers if business schools should put more focus on communications and interpersonal training within their programs, or should the programs require a greater degree of proficiency in these skills in the students they admit. Inevitably, the discussion revolved around the question of whether communication and relationship skills are inherent or learned. One reader contended that a person not already inclined to communicate openly could never really acquire the skill. Another claimed that by focusing on team projects and class discussions, business schools clearly provide this valuable training. But most agreed that business schools should both look for students with superior communications and relationship abilities and then show them how to refine their abilities. At Ivy, that is certainly the case, as it should be. As Ivy professor Gerard H. Segitz illustrates in the compelling article about the behaviors of effective leaders, communication and interpersonal skills are absolutely critical, especially when a crisis erupts or when leaders have to navigate the rough seas of organizational change. And since most businesses operate in a complex and uncertain environment, the best business leaders possess foresight, decisiveness, and the confidence to take risks. These are the behavioral traits gained by communicating and working with others. He further observed that when problems occur, leaders need the visibility that arises from remaining in touch with your people at all times. Equally vital is a leader's eagerness to communicate widely, because there is no such thing as over-communication during a crisis. He also underscores the critical leadership ability of being able to connect with people, to engage them, to secure their commitment, and to gain their trust. Most important, he shows how these mindsets not only help during a crisis, they inevitably help to avoid crisis. Effective communication and interpersonal skills provide leaders with an accurate understanding of what could happen, of how to minimize surprises, and how to keep your people on side no matter what occurs. Leaders are born or made is like asking the question, which came first, the chicken or the egg? To nature or nurture? Now, can we finally put this age-old argument to rest and come to a conclusion? Can people learn to communicate and relate well with others? Do leaders need to listen, speak, and interact with people effectively? Absolutely. Are leaders born or are they made? I believe that the best leaders learn to lead. They come to appreciate the value of candor and trust. They seek to understand and be understood. And they know that communicating and relating well with people are the only ways to achieve the caliber of leadership that endures. Great man theory and trait theories believe that people inherit certain qualities and traits that make them better suited to leadership. To suggest that leaders do not enter the world with extraordinary endowment is to imply that people enter the world with equal abilities and with equal talents. There are certain inborn characteristics that predispose people to be and become leaders. There is a significant difference between learning a skill and mastering one, in the same way that others are born with amazing musical gifts or athletic talents. They will excel naturally in those areas, but others would be like a fish out of water and may struggle to get to the same point. Born leaders, that is natural leaders, are different to made leaders, that is artificial leaders. All remarkable leaders have great history behind them. They were leaders from the onset of their journey. For example, Nelson Mandela, Mahatma Gandhi. If leaders were solely born, what is the point of the rest of us studying leadership or management? Birth is a natural process, and the notion to associate leadership with it is arguable. Definitely, it is arguable. Behavioral theorists believe that people can become leaders through the process of teaching, learning, and observation. Leadership is a set of skills that can be learned by training, perception, practice, and experience over time. Leadership learning is lifetime activity. Good leaders seek out development opportunities that will help them learn new skills. The military embraces this principle, which is very evident through its leadership training program. Can enrolling for a program on management and leadership make someone a leader upon completion? Can charisma, influence, integrity, and the ability to inspire be taught? Will the granting of a certificate and a few letters after one's name make them a leader? No. Soft skills, For example, soft skills can be explained, but they cannot be implanted. The ability to share your vision takes more than a sophisticated PowerPoint presentation and some crisp words on a bunch of 4x6 cards. Leadership can be learned by anyone with the basics, but an awful lot of leadership cannot be taught. Some do well, but others find themselves poorly equipped, rendering mediocre results. Leadership is an art rather than a science. It is a set of innate traits, refined and perfected over time with education, training, and experience. There is also an aspect of being in the right place at the right time. You may be a leader, but also a matter of whether or not you are in the position within which your talents can shine forth. The discussion about leadership also needs to identify the location as well as the environment. That is to say, are we speaking about these major performers, whether born or made in a small organization, in an industry, in a society, in a country, or in the world? If the fear of leading overrides the willingness to take on the responsibilities, then one is a follower and not a leader. Not everyone can be a leader, just like not everyone can become a good actor. Some people will never have that aspect in them, while others have the latent ability and thus can be taught how to lead. All the books, classes, education, and training cannot turn a follower into a leader. To be a leader in a structured environment, one needs some formal training. Most people can learn to manage well. They can learn to start a business. They can learn to lead a project team, since good management is based on rules. Rules that can be learned and mastered. Leadership is often a choice. A leader is a person who comes forward to take the challenge. If a leader rises up from the multitude, then that person was already a leader to begin with. Should someone have all the best training, nurturing, and opportunities, but would rather be hidden in the crowd? An unwilling participant, not a leader. And leadership styles vary with maturity, followers, and situations. So in studying leadership, the theories can be overwhelming. It is evident you cannot really support a side and negate the other. Although there are thousands of books, decades worth of well-documented studies, the debate, leaders are born or made, can go on forever without converging to a logical conclusion. Like most things, leadership capability falls along a bell curve. Some people are indeed born leaders. These folks at the top of the leadership bell curve start out very good and tend to get even better as they go along. Then there are the folks at the bottom of the curve who, no matter how hard they try, simply aren't ever going to be very good leaders. They just don't have the innate wiring. Then there's the big middle of the curve, where the vast majority of us live. And that's where the real potential for made leaders lies. So what does it take? If I am an okay leader and I want to become a great leader, what do I do? Students, the single most powerful way to grow as a leader is to become truly self-aware. Becoming truly self-aware means to cultivate on a daily basis an accurate sense of how you show up in the world and what motivates you. For example, what are your actual strengths and weaknesses as a leader and as a person? What impact do you have on others? What do you care most about? What's your moral compass? And do you use it as a guidance system? How closely do your actions line up with your promises? So, students, as you become more self-aware, you'll start to be able to hone in on both your strengths as a leader and those areas where you can improve, and move yourself up the bell curve to be a great leader. Thank you.